Good morning. We will just give a moment to clear the waiting room and make sure that folks have connected to audio and can hear us. As a reminder, when you are entering from the waiting room, please do remain on mute unless or until you are appearing or testifying before the board. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, July 25th, 2023. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman of the Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Thank you, Danny. Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Licensing Board. And today I'm joined by Commissioners Kiana Saxon and Commissioner Liam Curran.
Thank you. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly. I will call into the record this morning's agenda item. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. Again, all testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident. As noticed in the hearing notice for this morning, the board will be voting immediately following the license premise inspection hearing. Calling item number 1, the only item on this morning's agenda, Monica's Trattoria on Prince Inc. doing business as Monica's Trattoria, located at 67 Prince Street. Date of the incident, July 20th, 2023. Failure of the licensee to appear at the board's informational hearing in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.15A9, and no manager on duty in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 26, and Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney William Ferrullo, 28 State Street, Boston, Mass. On behalf of the licensee, with me this morning is Manager Amanda McQueen.
Thank you very much. Is Ms. McQueen sitting behind you, or is she on camera separately?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Lieutenant Detective Troy and Sergeant Detective Salucci is here also.
Great, thank you very much. I see Sergeant Detective Salucci. I'm just asking him to unmute.
Try. I got it now.
There we go. Thank you for being with us this morning. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? And Ms. McQueen, if you could please raise your right hand as well, if you plan to testify. Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
I'll read it. Sergeant Detective Salucci, Sergeant Detective Shaughnessy wrote it about 7:32 p.m. on July 20th. Sergeant Detective Shaughnessy conducted a code 35 at 67 Prince Street, Monica's Trattoria in the North End. Following the conclusions of the licensing board for the City of Boston informational hearing to review the character and fitness of the licensee and manager of record pursuant to Mass General Law 138, Section 12-26 of Monica's Trattoria, Sergeant Detective Shaughnessy conducted a license premise inspection and issued the following citations. No manager on duty and failure of the manager or licensee to appear at the board's informational hearing on 7/20/2023. License premise citation 8530 was issued. That's the 1-1. Yeah. And then they signed the copy of the notice. That's it.
Thank you, Sergeant Detective. Attorney Ferrullo, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes. First, Sergeant Detective Salucci, were you present with Sergeant Detective Shaughnessy?
I was not.
You were not. And
he has a court matter. He's not available this morning.
Right. So he's not present here today.
He's not.
Okay, thank you. Therefore, I have to submit to you that what took place that evening was that Sergeant Detective Shaughnessy arrived at the premises. He was greeted first by one of our other floor managers, and then Miss McQueen also came to his attention and asked if she could help him. He said he was there as a result of a license premise inspection and as a response to a 911 call the restaurant had made because an individual saying he was a reporter tried to get behind some of the staff and look at licenses, et cetera, and wouldn't leave the premises. And they called 911. So he said he was responding to that as well. Ms. McQueen showed him the licenses, had him examine the premises. The individuals, I should say, on the premises were dining. There was nothing else going on other than the regular operation of the premises at that time. He wrote the citation as mentioned. First item on the citation is that there was no manager on duty. That simply is inaccurate. Ms. McQueen, who I have stated before at the informational hearing, has been an operations manager at that restaurant, has worked there for 6 years. That particular evening, there was a second manager there as well, a woman, Ms. Guzman. So there was management there. I would also point out that also as stated earlier in the informational hearing that the restaurant has been operating since July 12th with the assistance of 3 family members, 2 of whom are licensed managers by this board and other premises. Ms. McQueen has stated and the regular staff that's on premise. Needless to say, there hasn't been any issues that have arisen in those 10 or 12 days. And as we've stated to this board earlier, we have been in business for more than 20 years. We will concede that Mr. Mendoza was not present at that informational hearing last Thursday, but I think this board knows, and I think the police department will testify that at that point in time, Mr. Mendoza was in a treatment facility and surrendered to police custody the next day on Friday. I would submit to you also that, again, he wasn't present because of that treatment facility that he was present at, and that we had staff in place as we would if any other manager were absent for any other reason. So again, I have submitted to this board on Friday and stated that a licensed premise manager application for Ms. McQueen. We requested that that hearing be today. We were denied that request, saying that it couldn't be scheduled. But I would point out that you scheduled an informational hearing for 4 o'clock on Thursday by posting notice at 2:39 on the prior Tuesday. So we had submitted that to the board before 2 o'clock on Friday, hoping that we could get that hearing today. I think the resolution, the remedy to the situation is to have Ms. McQueen, who has experience in the business and a degree in both management and business administration, become the new manager of record for this premises.
Thank you. Anything further, Attorney Ferrullo?
Well, again, I think the facts speak for themselves. At this point in time, the restaurant is being run by the family. We have submitted to the board that the corporate entity no longer includes Mr. Mendoza. He's resigned his positions in the corporation to be assumed by his wife and son. And that's been forwarded to the board. And we're in the process of making the additional changes that I discussed in the informational hearing on Thursday.
Thank you, Attorney Ferrullo. We'll turn it over to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you, Danny. I do have some questions, but first I just want to comment, Attorney Ferrullo, we did receive the application on Friday, but we had not had an opportunity to review it. Given that it's for a change of manager, which is a very important position in this heavily regulated industry, we needed time for staff to review it. Being that it's July and August, we have an abbreviated hearing schedule, so we weren't able to do that under the time constraints of Friday heading into a weekend. And again, we're here today because Mr. Mendoza did not appear last week at the hearing, and it seems from the public record he didn't appear because he was on the run from the police, and you just stated today in rehab. So again, that goes back to, we need to know as a regulatory authority at any given time who is in charge at a licensed premise. And you stated that Amanda McQueen was in charge, and it's difficult as the board, it's difficult for the board to understand who put her in charge, who deputized her to be in charge. If Mr. Mendoza, who was 100% holder of the license and 100% responsible for the restaurant, if he was unavailable and evading the police. So we will at a later date hold a hearing to determine the character and fitness of Ms. McQueen. But for now, we're here to talk about the failure of Mr. Mendoza to appear, not just for a couple of days, was for more than a week. He had been evading law, and we had no idea who was in control at Monica's. And it turns out, based on your testimony here today, it was being controlled and run by someone who was unknown to the board and never approved by the board. I understand that she has experience and she's worked there for a number of years, but this is not known to the board up until last week. And again, we will go through the appropriate review of her character and fitness. We will work with you to schedule that hearing at the appropriate time. And I respectfully ask that you give us some time to review all that application. As far as the violation before us today, when the police arrived to inspect the premise, who was, you said Ms. McQueen was on duty?
Yes.
Who else was working there at the time?
As manager or as employees?
I'm just curious, like how many staff were working? I mean, again, I'm going back to the fact that we're talking about a very controlled industry, a very highly regulated alcohol industry. And I am concerned at this point who was in control of the operations of the restaurant in the last week or so.
Well, on that evening, Ms. McQueen was there. The additional staff, as I said, included Ms. Guzman, who is also what we call a floor manager, in other words, assists with the servers and seating guests and the host, etc. As far as the number of servers that evening, there were 4 servers and hold on, I won't remember that all. 4 servers, 1 busser, a hostess, 3 kitchen staff, and 3 to 4 prep and dishwashing.
Okay. Can you help me understand how Ms. McQueen decided to take responsibility of this restaurant on that, in Mr. Mendoza's absence? Who told her she was in charge?
She's been doing that, as mentioned. She's been with the company for 6 years. She started as an office administrator, became a server, became a host, became a floor manager. And she's operations manager of the moment, which includes both being on premise at different hours. There are, as mentioned, there are also floor managers when she's not there. So the day-to-day operation, a lot of that falls on the operations manager. Mr. Mendoza was the principal chef at the restaurant for more than 20 years. But as far as the staff and the management of the staff, that was designated with Ms. McQueen for the last several years. So she does the interviewing for new staff, the training, and a variety of other things, including payroll and invoicing and so forth.
So does Monica's, or did Monica's at this point have some sort of contingency plan should Mr. Mendoza, the 100% licensee holder and the manager of record, be missing from society for a week? Was there like a plan in place? Like, I'm just trying to wrap my head around.
Well, Madam Chairwoman, let's be, realistic here. Is on any given day, I'm going to venture to guess that 30% or more of licensed establishments don't have the manager of record present. That's due to vacations, work schedule. Managers do not work lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Any premise that the police officers go to for an inspection has just as good a chance of finding an assistant manager, a floor manager, an operations manager in charge rather than the manager of record, due to those factors, scheduled vacation, illnesses, managers leaving employment, new managers not being replaced. So how do restaurants run? In this case, as a family restaurant with two other businesses within blocks of this, what happens quite frequently is that one of the individuals is on vacation or ill. One of the other brothers will fill in. One of the brothers who operates another one of these businesses was cooking at the restaurant last night, filling in the kitchen. And that would be an example of a contingency plan, meaning the fortunate part for these businesses is that it's a family that's been doing this for 20 years, and they can, cook, they can wait tables, they can put orders in, etc. if one of them goes down for any particular reason.
I guess more specifically, who put her in charge, or did she decide on her own to step up and take charge? Her
employment has been, as stated, for the last 2+ years. She was elevated, as stated, from what is a floor manager's position of working evenings and days that they're open to manage the staff, etc., to operations where, because she had worked in the office before, she's doing more in terms of administrative stuff, less on the floor. So that's been an elevation that she received a couple of years ago, and that's ongoing. That the fact that Mr. Mendoza wasn't there the last 10 days didn't change the fact that she was doing that. She is at this point in time spending more evening hours at the establishment than she had, because she was spending more of her time during the day on the administrative work, as well as working evenings on some evenings, but not as many as she is now. So because of wanting to be sure that there are no issues at the restaurant, she's staying there, working there evenings while it's open.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Ferrillo. Commissioner Curran, do you have any questions?
I think your questions have addressed my concerns, so I don't think I have questions at the moment. Thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
I think for me, it's just more out of curiosity for McQueen. What changed for her throughout these last 10 days when the manager of duty was not there? Did she just suddenly, she had to work more hours, or was this just kind of as normal? Like I'm actually like, was the manager of duty actually working in even before the 10 days, and this was just kind of natural for her to step into this role?
Right, as stated, prior to the 10 days, she had shifted more to day work and only a couple of nights. Now she's working more hours, including evening hours, to be there while the restaurant is open in the evening. If in fact we don't have a floor manager and either one of the two brothers, keeping in mind that Mr. Mendoza's wife has been going in as well to try to assist as best she can. And as I mentioned, one of the brothers has been cooking in the kitchen to pick up the slack in the kitchen where the owner, as I said, was the principal chef.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board? Oh, Commissioner Saxon, no. Commissioner Kern, no. Chairman Joyce, any further questions?
No further questions.
Thank you. Attorney Ferrullo, anything in closing?
Simply in closing, this is a long-term business that employs many people. The restaurant has been busy over the last 10 days, and we would like to continue that operation and continue people's employment. And as mentioned before, now that his wife and son have taken over the corporate structure of this restaurant, we want to be sure that the family continues to be able to support a wife and 4 children.
Thank you for that. If there are no further questions from the board, as was noticed, the board will be voting immediately following this hearing. I will ask, is the board prepared to vote based on what they've just heard? Start with Chairman Joyce, if there are any comments prior to you making a motion for a vote.
I just want to reiterate that as the board, we do have the authority under our own rules to suspend a license for the failure to appear before us at any sort of inquiry, especially an inquiry into someone's character and fitness. I have serious concerns about the person who's still listed as the manager of record and 100% owner. I know those changes are in place, but we have not reviewed them yet. And we also have not reviewed this new application before us. We do have every right to review those things and to look into the new person's character and fitness. And currently, right now, there is no approved manager record at Monica's. Until we can examine the person's character and fitness and approve the proposed manager, I make a motion to suspend this license.
So I'll make some comments first. I'd be inclined to second the motion, but I think as I've indicated in the previous informational hearing, I think that any manager, any employee who puts himself out as a manager on any given inspection when the police show up, for our purposes, with a licensee with an alcohol license, I think that person, if they're not the approved manager record by us, that their empowerment flows through the manager record that we've approved. I think in this instance, without the manager record available to the business, my position is that that person didn't empower this person on this evening and didn't have the ability to, because they were completely unavailable to the business. These are, the reason he was not available to the business was not sickness, it was not vacation, all reasons we might, in our discretion, be able to excuse their absence on any given evening. But I would second the chair's comments about the concerns about the character and fitness of the current person who is the manager of record and owner under our records and what we've approved. And since we haven't approved the new manager of record, I would feel that the business should not be operating currently under what we've currently approved. So those are my comments.
Yeah, even given my understanding of the effects, I mean, I understand that there's staff and family that are involved, but as the chairperson has said, this is a very heavily regulated industry, and you simply must have a manager of record. You have to cross the T's, you have to dot the I's. If we start allowing these kinds of exceptions, then we really do cause a slippery slope. So with that, I do agree.
Thank you, Commissioners. Chairman Joyce, would you like to reiterate your motion, bring it back up for a vote?
Sure, thank you. Until we can examine and approve the person's character and fitness who is on the application for the new manager of record and the new ownership, I make a motion to suspend the license.
I agree, the business should not be operating as we've currently approved.
I agree.
Thank you. Just to put a finer point, what benchmark does the board want to see to lift the suspension?
Until we can schedule a hearing.
Yes, I agree.
Until the hearing occurs, and until the approval?
I think until the approval, and we'll work with the attorney to get this hearing scheduled. And
my comment,
You may.
my simple comment is, I would hope this board doesn't hold this matter hostage. As stated, I appeared for a hearing last Thursday after having some ophthalmic surgery at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, making every effort to accommodate this board for a 4 o'clock hearing with very short, if inadequate notice, but I did that. I asked the same of the board for the hearing you scheduled today to schedule the manager's hearing, and not to hear today that you have a plan to schedule it, that you need additional time, but you had adequate time for these other hearings is disturbing to me, and disturbing, for any licensee in the city that they would be put at this disadvantage. So I would hope this is scheduled soon so that, again, we don't have to put people out of work. You know what the situation in the industry is. Once people leave, it's very difficult to get them back. And you potentially endanger a long-term family business as a result of waiting for a scheduling of a hearing. So with that, I would hope we hear very soon from the board.
we'll do our best. We are juggling vacation schedules, and we did not have a previously scheduled hearing until the middle of August, but we will work with you, and I appreciate your flexibility with us last week. I understand the stresses of the industry, and because this was such a unique and, in my opinion, dangerous situation with this person on the run, that is why we held that hearing as soon as we possibly could, and I appreciate you working with us. This is a transactional hearing. We will get it done as soon as we can.
Madam Chairwoman, your concern about that individual on the run has little, if anything, to do with the operation of the restaurant.
At this time, I understand that. Last Thursday, when we held the hearing, I did not know where he was. He had been evading police, and we did not know who was in charge of the restaurant.
Correct.
Thank you. So it sounds like the board has voted to suspend this license until such time as the board can approve a new manager of record. And Attorney Ferrillo, we will work with you to schedule that. With that all being said, I believe that will those are all the matters before the board today, and that will adjourn this morning's hearing. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.